Morning from Washington. I'm still reporting on the economy. A very turbulent week in the stock market got me thinking about these sparrows. Do birds worry about the stock market collapse or the collapse of the euro? No way. Do they worry about national debt? No way. Why can't we be like these birds? Well, guess what? We can. How? The secret is no nation needs a national debt. The bankers have convinced Congress that we must have a national debt, but we don't. It's true, nations don't have to borrow money, not $1. Nations don't have to have a national debt. Nations can create the money they need. It's worked before in history. It will work again. In fact, monetary reform is the only thing that can relieve our economic problems worldwide. Austerity measures will just drive down GDP. Tax increases will drive down GDP as well. They aren't going to work. All nations are in the same economic boat, the Titanic. The world economy is in a slow but sure death spiral. It's a death spiral completely caused by the debt money system. How does monetary reform work? It's basically a 6-step process. Step 1, congressional election reform. Congress is currently bought by the highest bidder. We have to change this or nothing will ever happen at the federal level. The big banks have all the money, and they are going to be sure no congressional law touches them.
There's a refusal on both the Democratic and the Republican side of the aisle to acknowledge the mathematical problem, which is that the United States of America is being extracted. It's being extracted through banking, it's being extracted through trade, and it's being extracted through taxation. And there's not a single politician that has stepped forward, Susan, to deal with it. People of the United States of America, your Congress is bought. Your Congress is incapable of making legislation on health care, banking, trade, or taxes, because if they do it, they will lose their political funding, and they won't do it.
Step 2, forbid a national debt. No more government borrowing. Step 3, pay off the existing debt as it comes due with debt-free money, U.S. notes, the Red Seal bills, or their electronic equivalents. See my other YouTubes for details. Or we could even pay off the existing debt with spare change. Yep, coins are debt-free money.
Gentlemen, Bill, with the quarter solution, imagine that. We could make quarters, and that would be it. That's it.
Step 4, raise bank reserve requirements so that banks can only lend out money they actually have. What? You didn't know? In 2008, the big banks were lending out over 50 times the amount of money they actually had. It's called fractional reserve lending, but in reality, it's just plain counterfeiting the national money and charging interest on it. That's why bank buildings are the biggest in every city on the planet. That's why their lending bubble got so big. The bubble has now burst, and unless we institute monetary reform, this nation, every nation, is going to go into a deep depression without end, a literal return to serfdom. And the new feudal lords will be from the same families as the feudal lords of old. That's why we instituted elected government nearly 1,000 years ago, to break the power of feudalism. Now the power of we the people is slipping away, threatened. Step 5. Once we take back the money power from the big banks, we must split it in half. One half for Congress and the other half for the states. Congress should set the inflation target. But that's it. Then a citizens watchdog committee, elected or appointed from each of the 50 states and beholding only to their individual state, actually creates the proper amount of debt-free money and then gives it to Congress to spend. No more money creation by private banks. And finally, step 6, and this is something new I've been working on: fair trade. Ross Perot was right. The great American manufacturing base has been gutted thanks to so-called free trade. We need fair trade, not free trade. The American economy is like a bathtub with 2 drains, one of which is pretty much hidden. The national debt is siphoning money out of the front end, but the trade deficit is siphoning off money from the end that no one ever talks about. Until we plug the trade deficit hole, money and productive capacity will continue to drain out of America, further impoverishing the middle class. More on fair trade in coming weeks. Now back to monetary reform. Critics say, but what about inflation? We don't need inflation either. All we have to do is control the quantity of the nation's money. That stops inflation. The Citizens Committee from each of the 50 state governments will be in charge of that. It's actually very easy. The president could institute monetary reform by executive order on any Friday, or Congress could pass what's called the Monetary Reform Act. That's what we need. And the first step is to raise awareness that we don't need this deadly national debt system. This year, the U.S. will spend $500 billion just paying interest on the national debt, an expenditure that is totally unnecessary. That's just as much as the entire discretionary budget of Congress. Chant it from the streets. Sing it from the rooftops. Call your congressperson. Ask them, why borrow when we can create and free ourselves from the enslaving shackles of the national debt system? One quick note. We have a new tax-exempt foundation, a 501c3, called the Still Foundation. I put these reports out for free, but they are actually very expensive to produce. Please give what you can by going to billstill.com and clicking on the Donate button. I'm still reporting from Washington on the economy. Good day.